Hey, all you wanderlusters and hometown heroes. This is Remain, Roam, Return, a podcast that pits your hometown lifestyle against the allure of far-off frontiers. In the show, we are going to try to settle the age-old debate on whether it is better to be the local legend or the one that got away.
And we are your host. I am Christian.
And I am Damien.
And together, we are going to spend each episode trying to discover which lifestyle truly is best. Is it better to stay close to the roots that raised you, or to fly away into the unknown?
Yep, and during these conversations, we will be discussing personal experiences and asking guests for their input to decide once and for all whether it is better to remain, roam, or return. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Remain, Roam, Return.
Triple R.
Triple R, baby! We're back. What's up, dude?
I've been working on some new moves.
Ooh, new moves. Like dancing?
More like...
Oh, no!
Here I am, growing older all the time. Getting younger in my mind.
Oh my god.
360.
That's sick tricks. That's so funny, dude. You've been working on, what are those called? Fingerboards?
This is a tech deck.
Tech deck, that's right.
Trademark.
Tech decking. Sponsored this podcast.
So I mostly have this. I have a plethora of I don't want to say toys, but with my ADHD during meetings, I have to fidget with things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so I have that. So sometimes I'll be in an important meeting where we're having big business discussions, and someone will just see me
grinding, sick grind,
just having a good time. Or I have my little QB.
Do you? Does it seem like people understand that? You're fidgeting? Are people pretty okay with it?
Yeah, for the most part. I don't think most people I keep it off camera mostly, under but yeah, I think most people get it because sometimes we're in a lot of meetings.
Yeah, my job doesn't particularly like my fidgeting. Mm-hmm. They say it's distracting. I guess it's probably because I get up and walk out halfway through.
Yeah, they call that fidgeting, not storming out. Yeah,
I'm just I'm not interested in this.
I'm done with this. I don't want.
I have a question. Does this pertain to me at all?
Yeah.
And then I just walk out.
As I'm doing sweet kick flips.
Yeah, 360 aerials.
I need a nice little Actually, growing up, I did have a little street course thing.
Oh, with the little ramps and the little rails and shit. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Are you getting back into it for real?
No, not really.
Okay, I was hey, everyone needs a hobby,
Nope, just my ADHD fidgeting, and so
yeah,
it actually does help quite a bit.
You didn't you skateboard as a kid?
Not
or you tried,
but yeah, I still now and then will skateboard. I have 3 skateboards still.
Do you feel like skateboarding as a hobby or as an interest has gotten more or less popular since we were growing up? Because I feel like it was a huge thing for our generation.
It was invented by Avril Lavigne in 2002, so
that's true. He was a skater boy.
She said, "See you later, boy."
We still don't know who he is. Maybe it was Dave Coulier, like always. It's always Dave Coulier.
So it's at that she's been married to the guy
Nickelback.
Well, first it was Sum 41.
Oh, that's right. No, you're right.
Derek, I don't know his last name the lead singer of Sum 41, and
that's
then
right.
It was Chad Kroeger.
All right. Do you hate or like Nickelback?
I feel like we've talked about this.
Have we?
Maybe. No, it might have been. So
might have been your other podcast.
Yes, my other podcast. Just me talking to myself as I'm running. No, I actually really enjoy Nickelback.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, so about a little more than a year ago, Chance, who we'll hopefully have on here, he is a fancy lawyer man.
Yeah, I
And
have some
so,
legal questions for him.
How do you get out of a podcast with a guy you hate?
What happens? Is there a like statute of limitations on if I just signed business papers? How quick can I get out scot free without paying a fine? It's gonna be my first question to him. I immediately regret this decision.
I regret everything. So his law firm has like at the local arena like a box for like clients and stuff. And like surprisingly, no one wanted Nickelback tickets.
Really?
Yeah. And so me and Chance were gonna go regardless to it, but so we bought tickets and we ended up not selling them to use the box. And so and Derek was there too.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to one of our past guests.
Shout out. Billy's Grilled Cheese.
Yes.
Delicious. Check it out. Fucking
very,
awesome
very
food.
Good. But yeah, no, top 5 concerts. Just
really. I have seen Nickelback as well. I will agree with you. They put on a hell of a show.
Like everyone was like making fun of it. It was like, you go to their Spotify, their top 5 songs immediately.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is it's like you can talk shit all you want, but they're famous for a reason, and you're lying if you don't know at least one Nickelback song from front to back.
Yeah, they like it. It was just so good, and they know. Like that's the best part. They lean into it too.
Oh yeah,
the campiness of it and stuff.
But they're part of the zeitgeist in the fact where like even if somebody goes, "Oh, I wanted to show you this picture," what's the first thing that comes to your head?
Look at this photograph.
I mean, every single time. Every single time.
Makes me laugh.
Every time I do, it makes me laugh.
Was on Jimmy's head.
So yeah, interesting.
No,
well, I'm glad you're back into tech decking. It's a really important pastime, really important hobby.
It is. Yeah, it's, I got to get more decks,
Yeah. Got to catch them all.
Got to start collecting. Maybe they make a Pokemon deck.
That'd be fun.
I'm not really sure if I'm allowed on the toy aisles at Target.
It's only bad if you get caught by yourself.
No, I know this child. That doesn't help. Me, Abby's best friend has like 3 kids, and like we go to like their sporting events because we're like, Aunt Abby and Uncle Christian, like we see them quite often. And we went to one of their like flag football games, and we had to leave early for something, and like, we start to know all the other parents there, and like one of them was giving us a hard time for leaving. It was like, none of these kids are ours. I was like, wait a second,
Hold on.
that.
Don't say it too loud. I don't even know any of these kids.
No, I'm friends with the little one. No, not like that. I'm friends with his parents.
We have sleepovers all the time.
And Abby just grabs my arm. She goes, just be quiet.
You are making it worse.
No, I got to explain to them. I don't like little boys.
I feel like that's a husband's job, is to just make things worse.
Oh, 100%. Just keep digging deeper and just eat.
Maybe that's your next fidget, is you buy a shovel.
I bought one of those like survival shovels that fold up, and Abby's like, why do you need this? I was like, in case we like get stuck in the snow. And she's like, that's not going to happen.
You don't know.
I was like, if I need to dig a hole to poop in.
Which, when you're on a 12-mile run.
She's like, actually, that's more of a likely scenario of you having to dig a hole to poop than
you may be the first person to invent a utility belt for marathoners.
Those do exist.
No.
I do have a
no, because yours would be like a fold up shovel, a salt lick, and like, I don't know, something else clever that I can't think of right now.
They do. So I do have like a nice like running vest that holds like my waters and stuff. But I
Yeah.
do have a few like pieces, like not pieces of a paper towel, but like I don't know how to say multiple, not a full roll of paper towels, but like,
just random pieces, just little tiny snippets of paper towels.
just like when you accidentally like you're trying to get a paper towel, but you just rip a chunk instead of like the sheet. Sheet probably is the word I want.
We call it the tail. You're ripping the tail.
So I save all of those and put them in my running vest.
What are those for, dude?
No, the actual sheets I have in there are in case I do have to poop on the run.
You can take the little tiny pieces. That's good enough. You just stick them up there and they just stay.
It's like a dike in a dam.
I don't think you can say that.
No. I'm a little Dutch boy who...
Where your clogs at? Oh, those are on my utility belt back home. I left those. I didn't need my clogs today.
My running clog.
Clip it.
Clip.
Oh my God. Anyways, welcome back to another episode of Triple R. We are
our guests
back.
At this point are like, will they ever stop talking about Christian pooping and running?
I don't know. I mean, what else is there to talk about, honestly?
That's a good chunk of my life, to be honest. It's pooping and running.
Yeah. Speaking of part of your life, you went to the Huskers game, right?
I did, which they won.
The date of that, what was that, 11? Because this is coming out a long time from now. What was that, 11? November 23rd? Was that the day?
Yep, the 23rd of November.
Nice. That was a good win, man.
But you were texting me up a storm during it, like I was going to be able to respond. And then it made me think, I was like, I think with you moving away from Nebraska, you're probably not as big of a Husker fan anymore. Or were you ever? Like, I see your blanky blink in the background, but
yeah, I like to rep. It's one of those things where I just feel it's important to represent them because we don't have much else as far as sports goes. But I've always I'm just not huge into sports except for basketball.
But
you're a
big NBA fan.
And even now I'm less of an NBA fan than I've ever been.
Yeah. But
I still play 2 or 3 days a week.
Yes.
I'm still an avid player, but I don't know what it is. I support the Huskers because I'm from there. I appreciate the fact that, that's all we have. That's one of the main things that we like to do.
That's a source of pride, right?
Yeah. It's like the big thing. So I support them in the sense of like being from there. Yeah. I don't really give a shit. I never really have. However, it is very fun to go and watch it live.
Yes.
Be part of, what is it, like 80, 90,000 people or whatever it is? Yeah. So that's pretty, and it's all a sea of red. Like everybody there is for the Huskers, whether they win or lose, everybody's cheering the whole time. So it's cool. I don't care that much. So I find myself accidentally texting you while the game is going on because I just catch the highlights usually. I always forget you're pretty much always there.
Yeah, if it's a home game, and then like it's again, I think we've talked about it. Like in a major city, it is cool. You have all those sports teams. Like LA, you have 2 of everything. Like 2 NBA, 2 NFL, 2 baseball, 2 soccer. Like
but then as California as a whole, has even more. So I almost think that's why I'm less interested now. Yeah. I'm almost spoiled for choice now.
But I think with that though, it's almost you can't really go to games, right? Like,
I mean,
you have to be very dedicated to want to go to games.
That's kind of it.
Like, I don't know how you would be a season ticket holder. Like, because think about the amount of time it would take. Think basketball. Basketball, there's what
82 games. Well, there's 82 games a season.
Yeah, so at least
and
41.
At least 40 games at home.
now imagine, and sometimes they're like on a Wednesday night. So for you, that would be to get to, was it? I can't remember what they renamed the Staples to. Crypto?
Oh, the crypto.com arena or whatever
it is, which but yeah, that would take you, that's a big event kind of to go do, because it's like hour and a half drive. You have to find somewhere to park. Games luckily are only like, I love basketball in the sense of games are like 2 hours, two and a half hours. They go fairly quickly
at the most. Yeah.
But then that's another like hour and a half back home. And then,
well, and God knows buying a ticket to an event does not include parking.
Yeah.
Right. So even on the rare occasion that you can park on site, you still have to pay $40.
Yeah.
It's like, how is this not like, this is my option.
Yeah.
I bought a ticket to the thing. Shouldn't that be included? That would be like if you wanted to go to the movies.
Yeah.
And you bought a ticket to the movies and they're like, oh no, we don't actually have parking here unless you want to pay for it. It's like, what? Yeah. And that actually, that actually brings me to another pet peeve of mine is I can't stand that now. If you want to stay at a hotel, you have to pay for parking.
You're staying at fancy hotels.
No, I'm staying at like Holiday Inns and shit.
That must be an LA thing.
I guess. I can't stand it. It's not even LA because San Diego does it. San Francisco does it. Anywhere on the West Coast, it's like I'm staying overnight. And you know that because I bought a room for 3 nights. So I'm staying overnight for 3 nights. It's $250, $300 a night for a basic room. But I also have to pay $30 a night for parking.
Are you like in the like downtown city center area?
I mean, generally, yeah, because when we're visiting,
that's true.
You kind of stay center.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how do you, it's a hotel, people are coming here to stay.
Yeah.
How does that not just part of the price? Like, here's the thing. I'd rather you actually charge $15 more per room.
Yeah.
And let me park on site for free.
Yeah. I get it more when it is in a city because parking is so so valuable and hard to get. Like I was thinking like you were staying out in like the suburbs and it's like that they're not charging you for parking. Which, no. But yeah, so I think going back to my point of talking about like season, so like we have season tickets to football and men's basketball for Nebraska, which we love. But like our tickets are like, they come out to be like $10 each a game, which is nothing.
Yeah, that's a great deal.
Free parking, for the most part.
And it's fun.
Yeah, and it doesn't complete like if it is like a Tuesday night game, it's like 7:00 tip off. It only takes me 10 minutes to drive downtown. Park, 10 minutes to walk from our free lot into the arena, and then so it's not terrible to do.
If that was the case, I would have season tickets, even though I'm not a big sports watcher. I'm always a fan of anything that's in person. If I can go to any event that is live, I really like to go, but I don't like to go if it's a hassle.
Yeah.
If it's expensive, I have to find parking. I have to get there 2 hours early. Here's another thing that's weird. I don't know if you've noticed this too. So when we were growing up, let's say you bought a concert ticket.
Yeah.
And back in the day, when you would buy a concert ticket, it would specify doors at 6, show at 7.
Yes.
They don't do that anymore.
I've looked so many times to figure out when bands are actually going to be when do I absolutely need to be there? Yes.
That is the biggest frustration for me right now because Abby and I, and as you know, we all like to go to live music. It is a crapshoot now. Yeah. If you buy a ticket and it says show at 7, that could mean show starts at 7. Yeah. Like the first band gets on stage at 7 or 7:15. It could mean that. Or it could mean doors open at 7.
Yeah.
So if you get there at 7, then you're standing in line waiting to get in, and then you get in and the show doesn't start till 8:15. Yeah. So now I've just wasted an hour and 15 minutes. When I go to a show, I want to walk in, I want to see the show, and I want to walk out.
Yeah, no, I don't need to be at the bar, like at the front barrier anymore.
No.
I'm good with my ribs not being crushed against a barrier.
Well, and the other thing too is back in the day, the whole point of showing up early before the doors open is there's a really good chance that you're going to like see the band.
Yeah,
Like as they're walking in, you're going to go, "Oh my god, they're unloading their stuff. Hey, oh my god, I'm a big fan."
yeah,
You can't do that now. Everybody enters through the back. You don't
yeah,
have any, you don't have any visuals on anything. So you're just standing outside unintentionally because it said show at 7, but that's when the doors open.
yeah.
So you're just standing outside and then you're waiting an hour and 15 minutes. And then when they
Uh,
don't start at 8, then you're like, oh my God, this show's never going to start.
yeah. There have been times where I've had to dig through information to be like, okay, what time? Like, I think that has become. There was this one band I gotta see. I want to say it was Spanish Love Songs, and I love that they absolutely did this. Like a smaller indie band, they had it down. Like they had like 3 openers,
Mm-hmm.
but they had it so down. The afternoon before the concert would tweet out the exact times bands would be on, and
I
I
love
love
that.
that so much because, like, of course, we're big music people. If you've been listening to this podcast, you know we love interviewing exclusively bands.
Oh my God, dude. Can we?
Uh,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but dude, can we talk about our last musical interview?
yeah,
What the fuck?
I know.
Can we just reflect on that for a second? I know this is we're screeching to a halt here, but it's been it's bring out your tech deck, grind it real fast. I got to tell you, man, it's been at the time of this, it's been a couple weeks since we interviewed Neil from Blue Nation.
I don't know what the releasing order is, to be honest.
No one does.
That's true.
But
it's always a surprise on every Sunday morning.
It's been a couple weeks, let's just say, just to be safe. I am still nerding out about that. I have personally, because I do the editing of the podcast for the most part. I have listened to that episode 3 times already.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it, man. And so maybe we could get a little real for a second. So before we had them on, what did you honestly think about them before we had them on?
I only listened to one song, to be honest.
Which song was it?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Probably explains a lot. And so, and Damien set up the interview, and so I was like, I'll listen to them. Like, and then I was like, you know, they're good, but they're not necessarily my taste of music. And so,
which is fair. Keep in mind for the listeners, I think we've learned by now Christian has a very specific style of music that he likes. Like you're all over the place, but when you really, really like the genre that you really like is pretty specific.
Yeah, I listen to everything, but yes, I would say majority of the music I listen to is that genre for the most part. And so I was like, yeah, like, you know, they're good. And so, but then like we interviewed Neil. I think we haven't referenced that's who we were talking about at this point, of Blue Nation. And I was like, okay, I need it. Like Neil is such a great guy.
Yeah.
And everything, I was like, I'll give them another shot. I'll really actually listen, which now doesn't sound great saying out loud.
Well, it's honest.
Yep.
You just went on first listen, it just wasn't for you. And I was like, I think you're going to change your mind. I think I even told you that. Like, I think you'll change your mind.
Yeah. And then like to see how enthusiastic Damien was during it, I was like, okay, that as well. And yeah, I've fallen in love with the band. Their album, Ordinary People, is it's an album, which now day and age, like it does feel like we only really have singles, and bands aren't necessarily like putting out full albums like that, where it's like, I don't remember the last time I really listened to an album all the way really listened to an album all the way through.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, it was fantastic. And so I can't wait.
My favorite thing.
Have
go for
other members of the band on, hopefully.
Absolutely. My favorite thing was after we interviewed him and then you went back and listened to him. you sent me the Frank Reynolds gif of
Mhm.
him like tears in his eyes and like, I get it now. Like you, after
Yes.
talking with him, you're like, oh my God, I
Yep.
totally get it now. So yeah, I'm still nerding out about that. That was probably the coolest thing that we've done so far on this
Yeah,
podcast.
and I think it's a good like for me, even for all of our listeners, like if you're not sure about a band, like give them a legit chance. And I'm gonna do that more often with everything because of course I listen to every band we interview
Of course, yeah.
beforehand, and I think I'm gonna do a better effort for sure with that. And so yeah, make
Well, and
sure
that's
you
also
listen
kind of
to it.
the listen to that episode if you haven't at the time
Yeah.
of this, but it's fantastic. That's also kind of why I'm a big proponent of doing recommendations all the time because I'm
Yeah.
like, you just never know. And I've been told many times by many people that my recommendations don't get taken that seriously because I'm what you call like easy to please, I guess. So a lot of times
Yeah.
people are like, why would you recommend that to me? That sucked. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I liked it. It made me
Yeah.
think of you, you know? So if you don't like it and it made me think of you, maybe you should reconsider what you're giving off to people.
Ooh, that's true.
Right?
Rick and Morty.
Yeah. Always sunny, coming back to bite me.
Yep,
Always.
yep. Always.
So anyways, I just wanted to go off topic there for a second. I'm still thinking about that. I still listen to that album constantly. I was just listening to it before this episode.
Which does bring me to a point I think I wanted to talk about. As we're recording this, it's the 24th of November, as you could probably figure out, as we were talking about yesterday was the 23rd.
If you're any good at dates or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep, if you can count, which
hard to come by nowadays.
it is. When is appropriate to start listening to Christmas music?
When is it appropriate? No earlier than December 1st, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because I think we even talked about this on maybe it was The Haunting of Mouse House, or maybe it was the one before that, I can't remember. But
yeah,
why do we skip over Thanksgiving? I don't understand Halloween's not even over yet and people are turning on Christmas music. There's another huge holiday in between those two. Let that one be over first.
Yeah, let's celebrate genocide of the
that's what we're best
people
at.
of America.
That's what Americans are best at.
I think it's because like Thanksgiving is a big holiday, and we of course get the day off and stuff like that. But it is like, I don't know. It doesn't have good music. There's no Thanksgiving songs really. There's
great Thanksgiving movies.
What, like, I'm trying to think of Thanksgiving movies. Is it Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? Technically, there was a animated turkey movie. I don't.
I'm sure.
We did.
I mean, I don't know any other ones other than Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but I'm sure there's plenty. I mean, Thanksgiving by Eli Roth. I know I shouted that out on another episode, but that one's good.
So I think like that is another part of it. My thing is, so I listened to a Christmas song today, honestly. But it's more
blasphemy.
It's not like a normal, I wouldn't necessarily call it a Christmas song. It happens to mention Christmas, but it's not the whole theme of the song. But I'm going to stick up for people who maybe will listen to Christmas music a little earlier than December 1st is because you only have such a finite time to listen to that music. If you wait till December 21st, you have to only listen to it within like 3 weeks, right? A little over 3 weeks. Because you're not listening to Christmas music any other time of the year, right?
Right, but I mean, there's a finite amount of Christmas songs. So if you start too early, you're listening to the same songs over and over again.
That's true. But then you're just sick of them by the time Christmas is done, where you're like,
that's my point.
Next year.
Can I guess the song that you listen to?
Sure. You're not going to get it.
Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer.
No. So going back to Damien talking about how I like one genre of music, like really like, For some reason, like pop punk makes really good Halloween songs, of course, but good like Christmas songs, which are like, I'm going back to like what I was saying of like not necessarily a Christmas song, but it does mention Christmas. And so
Bowling for Soup.
no, it's called Christmas Caller by Beach Bunny. Shout out to them.
Never heard of it.
Gonna be
get them on the pod.
They might be too big for us to be on
there.
They do
come on now.
They do some pretty big stuff. I'm actually going to see them in January.
Nice. And maybe they'll do your Christmas song for you.
Probably not, but they do have another really good song about how fucking February sucks. That's how I found out about them. Yeah.
That's a fair assessment of February. February is, I think that's my least favorite month of the year.
It's the shortest month, but yeah, I hate the month of February. I know it's the shortest month, but it's like, especially in the bit, like it can't be as bad like in LA, but
it's pretty bad in LA.
It's like, because you're over the holidays, like, you know, you have to come down of, you just did Christmas, New Year's, and like
Thanksgiving, Halloween. Yeah. I mean, you literally have from Halloween to New Year, and then you hit February, and you have another almost 12 months before the next big thing.
I would say Memorial Day. No, Midwest is a big thing, but not as.
I guess maybe 4th of July.
Yeah, but
4th of July might be the next one.
By the time February hits, you're like, I am so done with winter. I'm fed up with it. It's dark still all the time. The snow, you're just over the snow. It's like, especially in like Omaha, it's that time. By the time it's at that point, it's like where it's just like that mound of snow that is just gray and hard as shit.
It's hanging on by a thread. It's just like you can almost see through it, but you still can't get rid of it. Yeah.
And so, definitely shout out to Beach Bunny's song about February and how miserable, because they're a Chicago-based band, so they get shitty weather.
Oh, they get the worst of the winter too, man. Yeah, going to Chicago in the winter is rough. We went in January one year. Yeah, never again. Because it's such a walkable city, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, why am I in Chicago in January and I can't walk down the block because it's freezing and it's windy as hell?
Yeah, it is.
And I'm just trying to walk down the block to go get my Portillo's.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't get there. Stop getting in the way of me getting a hot dog, dude. I just want a hot dog.
And so, I have a buddy, which we'll have to, his name's James. Well, eventually I have to have him on the podcast. But yeah, he was like, hey, come visit me in Chicago. I was like, well, I can't visit for like a solid 4 months out of the year. Like, I'm just not. But Chicago summers are a lot of fun, I will admit.
Chicago rules. And I know we've talked about it multiple times. Listen to the Political Psych Abby episode. We get into Chicago a lot. That's a good one. But love Chicago. Fantastic city.
Did you go to Chicago as a kid?
Once. Yeah.
See, I never did, weirdly. I didn't go until I was in college, which is kind of strange, I think. Like,
as a kid, I wouldn't say it's that special because you just don't have the ability to do things, right?
They do have some good stuff. That's just things you don't. They have one of the world's best history museums.
Yeah, I didn't give a shit about that.
And I've never been to the aquarium. The aquarium's supposed to be big. And then
really cool. Navy Pier is fun.
Navy Pier, the normal touristy stuff, and then they just have. It's a nice big city.
Yeah, and then you go as an adult, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is one of the best walk around and party towns in the U.S." I think
it is, because it's a major city, and like, but it's still somewhat like, I don't feel like, because I've been to New York and L.A. and like Chicago, of course, is like in the middle, like of those two, like, and it's their bit. But it still feels affordable. It still feels like people are still kind of that like Midwestern kind of feel to it still. And
great food.
Oh, such good food.
Fantastic food in Chicago, man. Yeah, anybody who hasn't been, you gotta hit Chicago. It's a blast.
Just not during winter.
Just not during winter.
especially February.
Yeah, absolutely. I did actually have a question going back kind of to the theme of the podcast again. And I was thinking about this because I have like I said earlier, my brain sucks. I have like very, very bad memory, but it got me thinking, when you were a kid growing up in Nebraska, what did you imagine your adulthood looking like? Like, do you remember thinking growing up, like, this is what I'm going to be, this is what I'm going to do, this is where I'm going to live? But do you remember anything like that? Because I'll tell you right now, I have none of that.
I always wanted to be a doctor, like a doctor.
Okay.
Doctor.
Then you realize you had to be able to read.
Yeah, that was yeah, and that was the plan up until like sophomore year of college. Like I was doing everything to become a doctor and realized I didn't want to do that. So that's a big different one. I was also a guy who, like, I guess you said kid, but like growing up of like, I never saw myself living in Nebraska, which is crazy to say now. Like, I was definitely always a kid who wanted to get away. And I just, and again, like when I left after law school, I didn't think we were going to come back, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing it. And so, I think as a child, I would be in Lincoln doing stuff with computers? No.
And being on a podcast?
Being on a podcast. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, I have very, very vague memories of stuff. Like, for instance, I never even thought that I would leave Nebraska, let alone leave the United States at any point. So the fact that I've traveled outside the United States, the fact that I live outside of Nebraska is definitely like surprising, especially growing up the way I did. I never figured I would venture too much further than where I grew up.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I mean, I never really remember having aspirations of any type of profession. Even to this day, I'm still not like, I've always wanted to work in healthcare. Like, I've never.
So like growing up, you never like, you just like never had like what you wanted to be when you grow up.
I actually remember, now that we're talking about it, I remember one thing that is so indicative of the person that I am right now and who I've always been. I remember being in the back seat of the family car and my stepdad asking me, you know, because I've always had such shitty grades.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, your grades need to improve because, like, you know, what do you think you want to be when you're older? And I don't remember if I was being a smartass or not, but I do remember saying, I don't know, probably just like a waitress. And he was like,
a waitress.
He was like, you want to be a waitress? And I was like, yeah, you know, somebody who just like talks to people and brings them food and stuff. And he was like, all right, I guess continue getting bad grades then. Was
she a waitress at this point, or like?
My mom only worked in the food industry for as a teenager, but she was never a waitress or anything. I think she worked at Breddo Pizza, rest in peace, that used to exist. But I think that's about it. I think she's basically worked in healthcare since I can remember. But yeah, I was just like, I don't know if I was being a smart ass or not. Yeah. It's probably just a dumbass. It was probably serious. I was probably like, yeah, I want to be a waitress. But that's really the only memory I have of what I wanted to be as an adult. So if you look at it that way, I'm doing great.
I don't know. You didn't become a waitress. So
I never actually worked the front of the house of any restaurants. Fun fact.
Well, yeah, they had to keep your mug in the back.
Yeah, that's a smart move. Look, we want people to want to eat. If you drop off the food, they're going to be like, you can take this back.
They was like, yeah, this guy microwaves fish.
Only in a one-room clinic, though. Yeah, so I was just thinking about that. I was like, man, I don't really have any recollection of what I thought. I knew that I didn't ever see myself outside of Nebraska. But
Yeah.
other than that, I don't have any recollection of like what I wanted to be and I've even asked my mom, hey,
Yeah.
because there was a long time there where I was pretty lost as far as like what my future was going to be and what I was going to do. And I was
25?
like 31. I mean, very, very recently did I start to kind of figure my life out. But there was a pretty down low point in my life where I was reaching out to my mom, like, and anything that you can tell me, maybe when I was a kid, that'll unlock a path that I want to take or something like that, where maybe if I follow my childhood dreams, maybe I'll find something. She's like, no, I don't think you ever talked about any interest in any sort of career. And I was like, so I've always just been a lazy piece of shit. Okay, cool. Good to know. Not much changes sometimes.
Your teachers are like, this guy's just going to be a bum.
Yeah. Yeah. He'd be lucky. He'd be lucky to make a couple of dollars off the street. So
no, the only other thing I can think of is like I probably wanted to be like a baseball player, like a major league baseball player, because I liked sports growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wished I could play basketball for a living, but you know, when you're 5'6.5" and 30 pounds overweight, reality kicks in pretty quick.
I guess I didn't realize you were that short.
I think I'm like 5'6", 5'7". But
yeah,
but I play very well.
You do.
But it's just like at some point, you know, your stature matters, and that was never going to be a thing. So I still play, but I never really had dreams of that because I was realistic.
You mentioned, I can't remember when, but you're in your, because we played a lot of pickup basketball together in Omaha, and you're playing in LA with some different people. Have you noticed a difference in a competition, or is it like dudes are just dudes?
I think overall dudes are just dudes. I think the major difference I'll tell you right now, and I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with me being in LA. I think it's just the state of basketball now. But there is no sense of team anymore in pickup. Nobody wants to pass. Nobody wants to play defense. Everybody just wants to grab the ball and shoot.
Yeah.
And that's just not how I like to play.
No.
So I've found it very difficult to find a consistent group of guys to play with.
Yeah.
But the good thing now is I play through a league at my work, and you have designated teammates. So even if they play that way, after a while of you guys playing together, you can kind of start formulating like, okay, here's how we need to play if we want to win, right? So I'm looking forward to next season, actually, because the season's over now. But now that we know how to play together, I think that was a secret back in Omaha too, though, is we all played together for a long time. So we all knew how to play with each other, which strategy is the real important part, because you can be a great player, but if you're on a team of 5 and you're the only one who touches the ball, it's pretty easy to win against you. You know, so that's the only thing. I just think the state of pickup basketball now is pretty individual minded. So
God, it kind of terrifies me to think about trying to go and play pickup basketball, because I have not played in years.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I wasn't good to begin with. And so like me imagining like, hey guys, you want to play with me? And then I just fucking brick it.
Feed me the rock.
Just dribbling like.
Oh yeah, flat-handed. I will say that is a hilarious pet peeve of mine. Is I find it. You know how? Have you heard of the ick?
Yeah.
I have an ick as well, and my ick is watching a grown man not know how to play basketball.
Yeah.
When I see a grown adult man who has no idea how to dribble or shoot or pass a basketball, I'm immediately like, I don't like this. This isn't right. I don't know why, but it freaks me out.
Grow up playing basketball.
I get it. I'm not saying it's logical. That's what I'm saying. Well, bye. Christian's out again. This is a public service announcement to anybody who still listens to this podcast. We're pretty much done podcasting. We can't make it through one episode.
I don't know what's going on with my computer.
We're done. No more podcasts.
So essentially what I'm hearing though from you, Damien, is if you've never played basketball, don't go near Damien.
Yeah, please don't come around me talking about basketball if you're bad at it. Like, be bad at it, that's fine, but at least understand the fundamentals. I don't know what it is, but we had a couple of guys in the league this year who, I mean, if I pass you a bounce pass and it hits your hands and bounces off, I don't want to play anymore.
Okay, you want some
I'm good.
Basic level of athleticism.
Not even necessarily athleticism, but just basic coordination skills. Why are you playing a sport if you can't catch the ball?
Yeah.
That is in almost every sport besides like soccer. Yeah. That is one of the main components, is being able to catch the ball when it comes to you.
Yeah.
So it just bothers me because it's also a team sport. If I have the ball and you're open, regardless of your skill set, I'm going to automatically pass it to you. Catch the fucking ball. You know? So
it's also kind of weird too. So like we know your dad wasn't in the picture, and like my dad hates sports. He's like very so like I had to learn sports from my mom, who never played sports either. So like that also was like I feel like a hindrance growing up of like I feel like I could have been better at sports if, you know, I actually had proper like coaching from early ages.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the lucky part for me is I think first and foremost, if my dad had been around, I probably wouldn't be good at basketball. I'd probably be like smuggling guns and going to the Juggalo gathering and shit like that. I probably wouldn't have time for basketball. But the benefit also is my grandpa and two of my three uncles have always loved basketball. And I grew up in that same house with them for the first like 6 years of my life, mostly. And so from the time I could walk, really, I was playing basketball with them. So I had and my grandpa played basketball well into his late 50s, early 60s. And so not only was he great, my two uncles were great at basketball. So we grew up, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but shout out to Hoop It Up.
Yeah.
It was called Hoop It Up.
Yeah, I remember that.
The tournament. Yeah. My grandpa and my uncles used to play Hoop It Up, so I'd go and watch them play that. And then I remember the last year that Hoop It Up was around, I wanted to be on the team, and they never put me in because I was still pretty young at that point, you know.
So that probably makes a big difference of just having that from an early age, just being like teaching you the basic fundamentals, like already puts you ahead of so many other people.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a rude thing. I understand that having an ick about that is rude because not everybody, you know, grew up with it and stuff. But it is a little off-putting to me when I'm like, I don't know, why are you here?
Yeah,
I don't get it, you know. But you gotta start somewhere. So shout out to anybody who's learning a new skill. But
Damien,
I'm still gonna judge you for it. Yeah,
do it.
Yeah, I'm still gonna pass you the ball, but
do it where no one can see you
on your own time.
Do it in the dark, and then
don't you have any shame? Anyways, this isn't a basketball podcast. This is a podcast about whether it's better to stay in your hometown or go away and explore other places. And with that, I created a game for us.
He has not,
and I wanted to see.
This was all right.
Ready? So, I created a game. It's called Phrases from a Fedora. And it's essentially, so I had Abby, I told her just write down any phrase, any word, any thought that comes to mind.
All right.
Write it on a piece of paper, throw it into this Fedora, and then when we go on the podcast, I'm gonna pick one, and I'm gonna have Christian and I have to answer it. But not only do we have to answer it, we have to coordinate it with either a story about growing up in Nebraska, or maybe a story that resonates with somewhere that we've lived, right? So keep it on theme. So I have my little fedora here with our phrases in it.
First
What?
off, I was like, of course Damien has a fedora. I'm pretty sure I'll have to look through.
Yeah. It's a haunted mansion one.
No, let me finish my goddamn point. There's definitely a MySpace picture of you in a fedora. Maybe not.
Yeah, I've had a lot of different ones.
Second of all, that's not a fedora. That's a baseball cap.
Yeah, I mean fedora. I mean it's a hat.
Third, this is not a new game. This is a game from the
I just created
very popular television show. Whose Line Is It Anyway?
I don't know what that is.
You know, with Drew Carey hosted it. Other famous comedian Wayne Brady was on it for several years. I know you love Wayne Brady.
Oh, I love Wayne Brady.
Yeah, he was on essentially an improv show. It brought improv to the masses of America.
And it's called what?
Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Whose Line Is It? That's a long name. You know, if you're going to have a show, you got to make sure the name is concise, to the point. There's no way that... I feel like I would have known that.
I thought Remain, Rome, Return would really sum up what we're about, and all I get from you is shit.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just a little long. I mean, it's fine. We're 40 episodes in, so we'll keep it. But there's no way there is a successful show called Whose Line Is It Anyway? That's too long.
It's been on for years. It's still on.
Anyways, can I explain the rules to this game at least?
You did already.
So like I was saying, the point of this game is that everything's made up and the points don't matter.
All right, you've seen this show. I can't tell this a bit. I can't.
Do you want to play? Should we just scrap it?
We'll play. It's you put in effort. I can tell you put in some effort.
Yeah, I don't know. You're pretty negative right now. And I had Abby do all this hard work to write these down, so I figured we should...
I'll do it for Abby, not for you.
We should try it. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Ready? I'm reaching in. I don't know what's on here, but we have to correlate it with something about Nebraska or where we've lived.
Okay.
Okay. Silly gooses running through the farm.
Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
You got to go first.
So I'll relate this to our time in Omaha. It'd probably be I'm stealing Damien's thunder for this one. So our group of friends, we affectionately called each other the Goose Gang. Throw them G's up. And so with that, when you throw the G up, you had to signify, because usually this is surrounded about partying or being out at the bars, and to tell what level anyone was at, you would throw the G up, and how hard or how far you threw it showed what level you were. So at the beginning of the night, it was like a little G. You're like, I'm good. Kind of like a reverse okay symbol, not the racist thing.
Little more pointy.
Yeah. And then by the end of the night, you were like throwing it all the way behind your shoulder.
Yeah, like throwing salt for good luck.
So we'd always say throw them G's up, and so there are a few pictures out there of us as a group. Just
I would consider throwing up the G the original dab, by the way.
Throwing up them G's.
Because if you were, and we used to call it, when you were twisted, we'd call it going under. So you're going under the G. That's how you know you're really lit up. Goose Gang, going under.
At one
so
time,
that's a good
someone
one.
almost threw their back out by throwing the G so hard.
You can throw it too hard. You can get a little aggressive.
Which also explains the level you're at when you are throwing it that hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that we've partied at farms before, so I think right there is pretty pretty much sums up Silly Goose's running through the farm, throwing up the G's.
Or it could reference
cornfields,
running through Benson to the bars and someone falling and scraping their knees and bleeding everywhere.
It wasn't necessarily running through the farm, but running through the neighborhood of Benson and then getting sent to the drunk tank. They shall remain nameless who that was. But somebody in our friend group may or may not have done that. And then nobody got in touch with them for about 48 hours. And we thought that they died.
Nah, that was about right.
Okay. All right. That was pretty good. Let's see what the next one is.
You go first on this one.
Okay. Okay. You know what's really cool? Lasers. I got to tell you. So here's a fun one about lasers. So we had a friend who lived in not Thomasville. Yeah, well, I mean, he did live in Thomasville, but there's this really, really super nice apartment complex right off the freeway in Omaha, like almost to the next town over, right? Let's just say he was in a really, really bad accident and got paid out millions and millions of dollars for this accident. So he rented this nice apartment right off the freeway, and he would regularly invest in like crazy stuff that nobody would ever purchase, because what else do you do when you're 19 years old and have millions of dollars? And so he got one of those green laser pointers. And it's one of those ones, I mean, if you shine it outside, it can go for miles.
It's like planes kind of laser.
Yeah. And so we thought it was fun to party at that house and then go out on his balcony and shine that laser onto the freeway at night while people were driving at 65, 70 miles an hour. And let me tell you, lasers are cool, man. Yeah. The amount of problems you can cause with those is pretty infinite. Also, lasers are fun when you have cats.
Yeah, they are.
That's a good source of entertainment.
So lasers for me, I'm thinking about growing up and playing laser tag.
It's about time. Oh, sorry.
Laser tag in Omaha, because I feel like Omaha had a pretty decent amount of laser tag places. And
this is actually reminding me of a story, but continue. There's another one I have.
And it actually makes me a little sad because I feel like, so Omaha at the time me and Damien were growing up had a ton of fun arcades. There were everywhere. There was like Family Fun Center, Tilt, which was in the bottom of the mall.
Tilt was fucking awesome.
Skateland or Skate Days.
Skate Days, both.
Yeah, and now they're all gone. And so it's just like a part of my big childhood was, going to those places. Like even throughout high school, we would still go to Tilt and like just dig around as 17, 18-year-olds doing stuff. And so, yeah.
Well, now that we have an LLC, I think maybe that should be the next thing on our docket is to reopen a laser tag facility.
Yeah, that sounds like
just do a Tilt 2.0.
I think it's a wet seal now.
Yeah, it is. It is. Rest in peace. The story that actually you reminded me of, speaking of laser tag, and one reason that lasers aren't cool is I remember growing up with my uncles, and like you said, laser tag was huge when we were growing up, and we used to do it pretty frequently. And it was for one of my uncle's birthday parties. We went to the laser tag place, and it was one of those really old school ones where they had like hay bales and barrels and shit like that, where you can run around and hide behind stuff, and they had ramps and different rooms. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it was so badass, and I was there. And keep in mind, my youngest uncle is still 8 years older than me, roughly, and so I was playing with like the big kids, right? And so think about the stature level of somebody who's a kid and then playing laser tag with somebody who's like 8 years older than them, right? And so I'm hiding behind this barrel, and as soon as I run out and turn to the right, one of his friends comes from the other side of the barrel and turns left, and the gun was pointed right at my head, and I ran straight into it, and I still have a scar on my forehead. I think that's the most I've ever bled in my entire life.
Just all over the laser in the dark.
Just all over the place. Yeah. And I went down, and you could have sworn I got shot in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good one.
No running, Damien.
No running. I
feel
got
like
excited, man.
paintball took over the laser tag.
Which you know what? I'll say it right now. Not a fan.
I've never gone.
I don't want to go do something that hurts like that.
Yeah, I've never shot paintballs. I've never been shot by a paintball.
It's not great.
I've heard they hurt. Like,
yeah.
And so again, makes sense.
Got a bunch of welts.
Yeah, like I don't know. It just doesn't seem like, I feel like it's a very popular like bachelor party thing. So
yeah, not a fan. So all right, that was a good one. Let's do at least one more. We got some time.
We got time.
Oh no! Uh-oh. What? It just says, "Welp, that wasn't jelly." What does that spur for you?
I'm trying to think. So I lived in the UK, as we talked about several times with different brands. So jelly in the UK is not jelly in America. So jelly is what we would call Jello. And so they have jam, not jelly, really.
Right.
But I remember miscommunications and not understanding even English. I was at like a bar,
the Queen's English.
I was at the bar or something, and someone was like, "Hey, you want a jelly shot?" And I was like, "I don't want just a shot with jelly in it." And they're like, no, it's like gelatin.
Sounds chunky.
I was like, "Oh, you mean a Jello shot?" And they're like, "What? Like they knew what Jello?" They're like, "Oh, like in the American films." I was like, "Yeah, Jello." And I never really thought to me was like, Jello is technically a brand name, not like it's one of those things where it's like it's lost kind of its meaning,
like Kleenex or Band-Aid
or Escalator. Escalator is a brand.
Or Escalator.
And so, but yeah, so that actually kind of fits perfect. What was the saying? What did you just read?
Welp, that wasn't jelly.
So yeah, no, that wasn't jelly. It was. But could you just imagine taking like a shot glass, pouring some vodka, and just
oh my god, some Welch's grape jelly mixed in there? Could you imagine how rough that would go down?
It might go okay.
Well, I guess it would depend what you're mixing with, right?
It'd probably
like what's the alcohol in there?
Probably Barton's.
Ooh.
Which also does remind me, I'll do another sidetrack of I can't drink White Monster ever again.
No.
Because
fucking Monster Bombs.
Monster Bombs.
Monster Bombs.
So, yeah, that's what we would do. Like, again, drinking in the Midwest, especially Omaha, not that expensive comparably to others.
Yeah.
Like, especially when we like drinks were like $3 was expensive kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so as we talked about, we would pregame the bars. And so we would do Monster Bombs, which is literally consisted of the cheapest
Barton's
vodka we could buy, but we would mix it.
St. Bartholomew is what we used to call
Monster, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
And
no wonder I can't catch my breath anymore. My heart is destroyed.
Yeah,
we did some damage.
Yeah, it's like, espresso martinis are really hot right now. We were just doing Monster Bombs.
Yeah, and let me tell you, that wasn't jelly. Bye.
Bye.